FabFilter Pro-Q4 is out, and I want to show you some of the stuff that I am digging in this. Before I jump into that, first of all, thank you so much for coming by, checking out the video. There are some affiliate links down below in the description, and you can get templates, get some of my favorite plugins, all that stuff is down below. Using those links helps support me, helps support the channel, and I appreciate it. So let's look at Pro-Q4. Really glad I can finally start talking about this. I've been beta testing this for a while now, and I'm so glad this is finally out there so I can actually talk about it. For me, the Pro-Q EQ from FabFilter has been kind of the gold standard for sort of a DAW digital EQ, just the way the interface and everything works, the workflow. To me, it has been tailor-made for using a mouse, and that's why it has been my go-to for years. And this new version, I'm digging it. So I want to show you some of the new stuff in here that I really like. Before I get into that, though, I know one of the things that a lot of people are always wondering with the FabFilter plugins, whenever they do a new version, it's like a brand new plugin. It's not something that replaces the old version. Like installing Pro-Q4 is not going to take over for all of your Pro-Q3 instances if you've been using Pro-Q3 or Pro-Q2 for that matter. And there's a reason for that. Sonically, a lot of the stuff in Pro-Q4, it is definitely the same, but there are changes in here that if it just swapped out for Pro-Q3, like if I load an old session with Pro-Q3 in it, it might not be quite the same. And for me, for doing recallability, if I've got to load something a year from now to print something or make a change for whatever reason, it does happen every once in a while, I need to be able to recall that session exactly the same way. And if now it's doing it with Pro-Q4 instead of Pro-Q3, things might not come back the same. Just as an example, let's look at one of the new things here in Pro-Q4. They have updated the dynamic EQ. So now we have attack and release controls on it, and those were not in Pro-Q3. So that means that the dynamic EQ, I think it's working better in Pro-Q4, but it's going to work a little different than it did in Pro-Q3. So that's a big reason why having these as separate plugins right now, it's kind of a feature. The one thing that is compatible, though, is you can take Pro-Q3 presets that are, in their presets. You can take those presets from Pro-Q3 and you can load them in Pro-Q4. So there is compatibility between the two. It's just, it's a little newer version. They're not just adding new features to plugins. They're always trying to improve things just overall and constantly moving forward. That's one of the things I like about FabFilter. What else is new in here? Okay, so one of my favorite features, and maybe it's dumb and it's so simple, but now when you're over the EQ like this, I don't know if you can see it. There's these little icons. I'll zoom in on it. You can see what band you would create. And I'll tell you why I love this. It's because I can't tell you how many times I have tried to put a low pass filter on things and created a high shelf, and now I can see. So if I just double click there, now I get my low pass. If I double click here, I get a shelf. So really cool. There's also this new kind of EQ sketch feature. Now you can kind of see this dotted line right over the mouse. If I click here, that's going to give me that shape. So you can kind of see what you're going to create when you put that on, which is nice. And you can see it, it's now like right here, if I just single click, when it's just a solid line, if you single click, it will just add the filter without even having to double click. So kind of cool usability features. There's also this new EQ sketch thing. I'm not really using this much, but you know, if I hold down now, I can kind of add curves. It's not really the way I think about EQ, so not really usable for me, but you may get a lot of mileage out of that depending on how you approach using EQ. Other new stuff that's in here. Well, here, let's look at something. They've added an all-pass filter shape in here. If you're not familiar with all-pass filters, they affect the phase and only the phase of our signal. So just as an example, I've got a kick drum here. Two mics were on the kick. There was like an inside mic and something. It wasn't quite outside, but a little more outside. If I play them on their own, like here's the kind of the inside mic. And then here's more that outside mic. So the outside, as we'll call it, that's got a lot more low end. Now, if I put them together, we're not getting that oomph that we want. Now, I could just flip the polarity. I bet you that'll help. So that helps, but I think we might be able to do something better. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add an all-pass filter. We'll drop one right around here. Go down to the filter type. We'll hit all-pass. So now let me take that out. If you're not listening on headphones or good speakers that actually have some low end, you're probably not going to hear it. Like, I don't know that you're going to hear this on like a laptop speaker or phone speaker, but that is adding a bunch of low end. So that's all pass filters. I don't really use all pass filters because when you're messing with phase, you can really mess things up. And in my live sound background, sometimes you would use all pass filters for aligning speakers, but you can also really mess things up with them. And I mean, you could mess things up with anything. So I wouldn't say don't use them. I mean, the only way you're going to figure out how to use them is if you actually try them and probably mess things up a bit. So give them a try, mess around, but that's kind of what you can use these for. It's for doing kind of phase alignment, or I don't know if alignment's even really the right word, but to kind of correct for phase differences between two different signals, maybe with a DI and a bass amp, that kind of thing. This could be helpful. There's probably other places where you might want to align things too, and that'll maybe do it for you. So all pass filters are new. Let's see what else is new in here that I can show you. One of the things they've added, there's a new kind of dynamic EQ in here, and that's what they're calling Spectral Dynamics. If we make this spectral, here, let's see something. Play. The Spectral Dynamics here, it's kind of like the resonance suppression that we're seeing pop up in a lot of plugins. I think Soothe was sort of the first plugin to kind of really start doing that stuff, to my knowledge anyways. And now we've got it built in to Pro-Q 4. I haven't been using this a ton in here just because it adds a lot of latency, and I have Soothe, and I've been using Soothe so much I'm kind of used to it. But I could see just hopping over and using this in a pinch to fix something real quick if I'm already using Pro-Q 4. If you don't have Soothe or another one of these plugins that does that, here you go. This is great. One of the things I do like about the way this works is it's real easy to kind of target exactly where you want to put the processing. I know with Soothe, you have to approach it a little differently in your mind to use it. To me, this works like an EQ. So I think that's going to be helpful for a lot of people. Other stuff that's in here, they've added this kind of character mode. So you can add kind of like a transformer emulation to the whole thing. It's pretty subtle from the playing around with it I've done. I did use it on a vocal maybe a few weeks ago that I was having a hard time with, and putting it on warm, I think it just made it a little better. But pretty subtle, as that kind of thing should be. But if you're looking to add some color and to have some of that stuff happening with your EQ, that's an easy way to add it to what you're doing. One of the other new features in here is the instance list. If I click down there, I can see every instance of Pro-Q4 in my session. So if you want to kind of navigate to another EQ and make some adjustments from in here, you can do that. I can turn the scrolling off if I really want, so it doesn't bounce around. One of the things in here you can see is you can turn on like this collision reference. So right here, if I click this, this is the lead vocal, which I'm not playing right now because I don't want to get copyright hit on this today. But if I play, you can see where collisions are happening on some of the different channels if you want to adjust for that kind of stuff. I don't ever use that because I've just been EQing too long, and I kind of just do that naturally. But if you're learning how to EQ, that can be really helpful to sort of see where some of that stuff is. I think that's a great feature. I wish they had features like this when I was getting started years ago. So, cool feature to help you get better at EQing and a little more precise. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of little things in here, stuff you wouldn't even necessarily think about, like, with the high and low pass filters, if you scroll on this with the mouse wheel, you can go through there, but you can actually get finer resolution on this on Pro Tools. For me today, if I hold down Command and scroll on that, I can get a more continuous slope and really fine tune things. This works on just the regular filters as well. So you can really kind of tailor that shape as you want to really fine tune things. So lots of cool stuff in here. There's probably other stuff in here I haven't even touched on. I just kind of use this. It has been so natural for me moving from Q3 to Q4. This is now my go-to. I'm replacing Q3 in all of my presets and templates and just switching over to this. Should you update? I don't know. The usability stuff in here, that alone, just, having these like filters showing up in there, little things like that, to me, they really go a long way in making this plugin even better. Whether it's for you or you want to move up, I mean, hey, that's up to you. If you have not gotten into the Pro-Q EQs, this is a great time to finally get into that. I know it was really hard for me to come around to buying another EQ plugin years ago when I got into Pro-Q2, but after I did, I can't believe I waited. I mean, it just works. It is so smooth for me to use this EQ in a DAW. This is my go-to because it's fast and I can just get around. I mean, it just makes sense using this in a DAW. Pro-Q4, if you've got questions about it, there's something in here that you are finding that you love, I would love to hear about it. What's useful for you. I mean, you can like copy If I hit copy here, I could open another instance and paste the EQ just back and forth. I mean, there's just a lot of little stuff in here. So I'd love to hear, what are you loving? What are you using this on? Have you tried it? What do you think? Leave a comment below and let me know. But thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.